One moment, two flags, and an entire continent erupts with pride. In less than 48 hours at the 2025 U.S. Open, Alexandra Eala and Coleman Wong simultaneously rewrote history for Asian tennis. One from the Philippines, one representing Hong Kong. Both overcame pressure, skepticism, and formidable opponents to claim their first main draw victories at a Grand Slam in the Open era. For the first time in history, their flags were waved high at Flushing Meadows, not just for presents, but for winning. But behind the handshake at the net lies a harsh journey. Alex Eala had been eliminated in qualifying rounds many times, and once shed tears under the weight of expectations. Coleman Wong, the name once dismissed as only good at junior level, quietly fought through 3 intense qualifying matches to defeat an American player on his home court. 2 different paths, yet both led to one unforgettable moment. History written by young people who refused to give up. In this video, you will follow their every step, from the dream of clay courts to the roaring applause in New York. And perhaps you will see not only athletes, but the very spirit of a rising generation. If you love stories of overcoming adversity, of sports moments that make your heart beat faster, then hit subscribe on the Pro Tennis Stories 360 channel now. Because the next chapter might be even more moving. One moment, two legacies. On the court of the 2025 U.S. Open, when the final whistle blew, both Alexandra Eala and Coleman Wong held their heads high, not just because of the victory, but because they knew they had touched something bigger than themselves. A win can be an ending for an outsider, but for them, it's just the first chapter of a longer story, a story of change. When both national flags, the Philippine and Hong Kong flags, waved together in the American stands, it was a rare moment when the world paused and listened to nations that don't usually appear on the Grand Slam map. It was not a miracle. It was the result of thousands of hours of sweat, of training under the sun, of being eliminated when no one knew their names. But now they are remembered, not because of a scandal, not because of a media stunt, but because of their pure effort on the court. Both Alex and Coleman have redefined opportunity, that you don't need to come from the strongest place to make the world listen. Their victory is not just about sports. It is a victory of resilience, of unyielding ambition, of the belief that any dream can come true, as long as you are brave enough to pursue it to the end. The story of Alexandra Eala and Coleman Wong at the 2025 U.S. Open is not just 2 personal victories. It is a vivid testament that sports always has a place for those who dare to dream, no matter how humble their origins. They have inspired not only fans at home, but also an entire generation of young Asians who are quietly training every day with the belief that I can do it too. And their journey is still ongoing. The next rounds will be tougher, but with the spirit they have shown, perhaps the best is yet to come. If you want to continue following the breakthrough journey of young Asian talents on the world's sports stages, don't miss the next video, where we will explore the untold stories behind the scenes of Coleman and Alex, the rigorous training, the coach's advice, and the precious everyday moments. Backhand index pointing right, hit subscribe on the Pro Tennis Stories 360 channel today to not miss any step in the journey of Asia's most inspiring players. Because every shot carries a dream, and you deserve to be part of that journey. The Grand Slam stage and the Asian historical moment. At the 2025 U.S. Open, amidst countless major stars stepping onto the court with the confidence of players from tennis powerhouses, 2 young names from Asia, Alexandra Eala of the Philippines and Coleman Wong of Hong Kong, achieved the unthinkable. Unheralded, unseeded, many had barely heard their names on the Grand Slam map. Yet, in the opening rounds, both together wrote a new chapter in their nation's tennis history. The first time a Filipino player and a Hong Kong player won a main draw singles match at a Grand Slam in the Open era. That moment held more than just sporting significance. It was a symbol of the Asian dream, that nations without a strong tennis tradition can absolutely rise up and create miracles. The fascinating coincidence is that both Alex and Coleman trained at the Rafa Nadal Academy, growing up in the same professional and demanding environment. Now, standing on the Grand Court in New York, they competed not just for themselves, but on behalf of an entire generation of young people quietly training on old tennis courts across Asia. Their victory is proof of the power of belief, discipline, and above all, the desire to be heard and recognized. In the radiant looks after their wins, Alex and Coleman seem to be telling the world, "We have arrived, and we deserve to be here." And that is only the starting point for a long road ahead. Coleman Wong, when perseverance crushes prejudice. Coleman Wong was once viewed as a player with more media hype than achievement. As a bright star at the junior level, he won the boys' doubles Grand Slam title and was the great hope for Hong Kong tennis. But when he stepped into the professional world, everything became exponentially harder. Quick losses and winless seasons made many believe he would be just a fleeting phenomenon. But Coleman did not choose to give up. He quietly rebuilt himself, trained relentlessly, and gradually asserted himself through smaller tournaments. At this year's US Open, few paid attention as he started from the qualifying rounds. But it was there that he caused a shock with 3 consecutive wins, a journey untelevised, without cheering crowds, just pure effort. Advancing to the main draw, he met Alexandra Kovacevic, an American player with a home court advantage. Yet Coleman performed brilliantly, controlling his emotions and breaking serve at key moments to win in 3-10 sets. After the match, the image of him bowing to thank the audience and looking up at the Hong Kong flag flying high moved the online community. This was not just the victory of a tennis match, but the triumph of persistence, of a small young man overcoming all skepticism to carve his name into history. For this young player, the journey has only just begun, and the US Open might be the place where he changes his life. Alexandra Eala, the Filipino girl and the unyielding heart. For Filipinos, sports often mean basketball or boxing. Tennis has always been something luxurious, reserved for the few. But then Alex Eala appeared quietly, without arrogance, and began to redraw the nation's sports map. At 20, Alex is no longer a new name. She has competed in the world's biggest junior tournaments, won a girls' doubles Grand Slam title, and become a feminist icon in Philippine sports. But the victory in the first round of the 2025 US Open was the real turning point that defined her career. The match lasted over 2 hours under the pressure of one of the world's biggest Grand Slams, as Alex faced a stronger opponent, Clara Towson, and heavy mental pressure. But with her mental toughness, she achieved a spectacular comeback and won in a dramatic tiebreak. But what moved the audience was not the score, but the emotional look in her eyes as the match ended. The look of someone who had overcome herself. She didn't need eloquent interviews. Her final shot said it all. In the context of Philippine sports lacking systematic investment, Alex's victory is an invaluable gift to her home fans. She showed that, with enough persistence and an unyielding heart, a Southeast Asian girl can absolutely conquer the Grand Slam. For Alex, the road ahead is full of challenges, but this year's US Open is definitely the turning point. And perhaps a major star is truly forming from the region few expected. The decisive matches, light from pressure. When they reached the main draw, the pressure grew heavier, and both Alex and Coleman faced their biggest challenge, not just having to win the match, but having to win to affirm that the meaning of that victory transcended the personal story. Alex faced Clara Towson, a highly ranked player with extensive Grand Slam experience. In the third set, she was down 5-1, and it seemed all hope was slipping away. But Alex maintained her composure, forced the match into a long tiebreak, and finally won 7-6, 13-11. That victory did not come from a miraculous moment, but from every small point, every patient shot, every bit of resilience amidst the New York rain and court pressure. Meanwhile, Coleman entered the court after a grueling qualifying process, overcoming 3 intense elimination matches to reach the main draw. His first opponent was Alexandra Kovacevic, a strong player with a US Open home court advantage. But Coleman played every game cautiously, capitalizing on long rallies and smart movement to win in 3-10 sets. Both victories were not only displays of skill, but manifestos of belief and worthiness. Fans called it Asian History Day, because in the decisive moments, they didn't hesitate to prove their mettle among the top competitors. Home country reaction, flags waving from Manila to Hong Kong. Shortly after the victories were confirmed, The reaction from the home countries of Alex and Coleman spread like wildfire. In the Philippines, the sports media called this the milestone that broke the long era of silence, the first time a female player from the country won a Grand Slam singles match. Television shows, online newspapers, and social media all shared images of Alex hugging her racket, her eyes shimmering with tears, and the Philippine flag in the stands. Neighbors, schools, and the young tennis community all shared in the pride. In Hong Kong, Coleman supporters felt it more clearly than ever. His parents, friends, and the academy where he trained posted congratulatory statuses. Local tennis courts hung "Congratulations Wong" banners with words of encouragement. Local media described, Hong Kong may be small, but today its echo at Flushing Meadows is as loud as a giant's. The comments and interviews established a deeper meaning. This victory is not just personal, but belongs to a nation that has rarely been seen in Grand Slam history. They said that the boys and girls holding rackets at airports and on street courts are dreaming bigger, because today Alex and Coleman show them. If you are determined enough, you are not just an observer. Historical significance, when a personal dream becomes a legacy. The victories of Alexandra Eala and Coleman Wong in the first round of the 2025 US Open were not simply results on the scoreboard. They were a path opener, a new chapter in the sports history of two nations that had never made their mark on the Grand Slam stage. When Alex became the first Filipino to win a women's singles match in the Open era, and Coleman, the first Hong Kong male player to do the same, they not only defeated their opponents, but also broke the psychological barrier for millions of fans back home. For many years, players from Southeast Asia and East Asia were often seen as outsiders in major tournaments, rarely noticed by international media, and even more rarely expected to win. But this year's US Open reversed that trend. No longer going to learn, Alex and Coleman played as equals, without fear or concession. This event also ignited belief in the young tennis communities in both countries. Sports academies, coaches, and even sponsors now have a clear reason to invest more systematically in local talent development. Because now there is living proof. You don't need to be born in America, England, or Spain to write your name on the biggest stage. On a personal level, Alex and Coleman made their mark not just because of their youth or talent. They are remembered for their grit and character, competing with resilience, yet maintaining humility and respect for their opponents. That turned their victory into a symbol, not just for sports, but for a young generation that dares to dream and act. They turned a dream into a legacy. Coleman Wong's private journey, from doubt to unshakable belief. Coleman Wong was not the name burdened with high expectations when he entered professional tennis. Born and raised in Hong Kong, a place where tennis has never been the #1 sport, he faced countless doubts. A lack of proper courts, top-class coaches, and major tournaments for competitive experience. But in those very harsh circumstances, Coleman forged a special quality, never giving up. His journey to the 2025 US Open was like a long, unspectacular, but persistent race. He was not a player invited directly into the main draw. Instead, Coleman had to overcome 3 tense matches in the qualifying rounds, where just one small mistake could end the dream. But he did it. And not only did he get through, Coleman defeated American player Alexander Kovacevic in the first match of the main draw, becoming the first Hong Kong player to win a Grand Slam men's singles match in the Open era. For the people of Hong Kong, this victory was not simply a shock. It was like a gentle tap on the shoulder of belief that if one person can do it, many more will follow. Coleman did not just fight for himself. He fought for a generation of youth, the children swinging rackets on cement courts amidst crowded streets, dreaming of having their names called on Arthur Ashe Stadium. In the bright lights of New York, Coleman is more than just a tennis player. He is a symbol of effort, the new pride of a city accustomed to silence. He doesn't need noise. He just needs a chance, and he seized it brilliantly. Alex Eala, the steel flower of Philippine tennis. For Filipinos, sports often mean basketball or boxing. Tennis has always been something luxurious, reserved for the elite. But then Alex Eala appeared quietly, without arrogance, and began to redraw the national sports map. At 20, Alex is no longer a new name. She has competed in the world's biggest junior tournaments, won the girls' doubles title at Roland Garros, and become a feminist icon in Philippine sports. But the victory in the first round of the 2025 US Open was the real impetus that defined her career. The match lasted over 2 hours under the pressure of one of the world's biggest Grand Slams, as Alex faced a stronger opponent, Clara Tauson, and heavy mental pressure. But with her mental toughness, she won in a decisive tiebreak. That was more than just a win. It was the first time a Filipino female player had won a Grand Slam singles match in the Open era. She is not only writing history, but also opening the door for young girls in Manila, Cebu, or Davao, who once thought tennis was something not meant for them. But what makes Alex different is not just her achievements. It is how she maintains her composure amidst a glamorous world. Simple, honest, and full of human compassion. After the match, she didn't celebrate excessively. She thanked her coach, the audience, and even those who once doubted her. Alex is proof that you can be gentle and still be strong. She is the steel flower, blooming not in perfect conditions, but amid storms, and still spreading fragrance. And at this year's US Open, that fragrance has spread further than ever before.